Hello friends. If you know me, then I've probably presented this build to you already, but for posterity, I wanted to do it one more time in video form because it sounded like fun. Here's how I built my Briefcase Fightstick. A couple of years ago, I got back into fighting games and decided I didn't like using my crusty old PS3 controller on my PC and wanted to get an arcade controller. After doing a little research, I quickly realized I wasn't going to be satisfied with normal retail offerings. I liked the idea of choosing one of the more ergonomic layouts beyond the standard Vuelix with mostly parallel rows of action buttons. Plus, I wanted to be able to relocate buttons, since Street Fighter 6 makes heavy use of macro buttons beyond the standard 6. I wanted to ride the new trend of action buttons on the thumb. DIY enclosures exist with custom made-to-order panels, but the price quickly got out of control when I was trying to put something together. So that led me to just drill and assemble my own, from scratch. In my research, I had liked when the cases had clamshell-style openings for easy access to the internals, similar to the Kanba Dragon. I wanted something self-contained that could store the cord, alternate toppers, even hold any accessories I needed. And I had seen people building controllers into absolutely everything for the memes, so I knew I was in good company doing something non-standard. The Discord arm of the r Fightstick subreddit was instrumental, full of mad scientists very eager to spread their madness to others. It is through them that I acquired my RP2040, an open-source Raspberry Pi-based board designed to turn general-purpose I/O wire inputs into USB controller signal. Just as lag-free as the name brand board sold on Amazon, and much cheaper. Anyway, with their encouragement, I decided to go forward with a briefcase build. I went on eBay and found a vintage briefcase for cheap. I originally wanted to see if I could find genuine leather, but the one I ended up buying was just vinyl. It was still a score though. The surface was durable and cleaned easily, and had a plywood core, so it's actually quite rigid. It would provide a built-in wrist cushion. It opens easily, and it's big enough to fit all the controls I wanted. More on that later. I drilled all the holes myself, which ended up being majorly nerve-wracking because the old plywood inside started to splinter. I chose screw-in buttons to account for the wood's thickness. The auxiliary buttons on the sides are unpolished brass, which I begged and conned a Chinese factory rep through Alibaba to run a small set of 12 for me, hoping to match the locks and hinges. To keep the case's vintage retro aesthetic, I made a USB pass-through using a DIN 5 plug, a nod to the Commodore 64 computers and their media connectors. I used brass fasteners meant for leatherwork to secure the joystick in place. Everything was matching perfectly so far. From my observations, some indecisive newcomers tried to build a controller with everything at the same time. I kind of fell into the same trap and made what's called a hit stick. And normally the downside is that the two left-hand controls need to be spaced too far apart so they don't interfere with one another. My solution was to use a hard switch to cut off ground wires for one or the other, so accidentally pressing the direction buttons wouldn't interfere when using the stick. Also, I got a detachable link shaft for the joystick so I could take it off when I wasn't using it, so they basically occupy the same area. I don't regret the decision, as it's very usable in both modes. If I was going to build something where it was easy to access the inside, I wanted to impress on the inside too. I sleeved all the wires, using sleeving that had all the hipness of an Argyle sweater, and wired the face buttons and joystick using an old 40-pin IDE cable meant for hard drives. This ended up taking me a long time to wire up, but the resulting retro feel was worth it. Unfortunately, this painted me into a bit of a corner. The cable's signal had to fit into a connector meant for a 20-pin harness. I needed a way to merge down all the grounds, while also enabling the switching mechanism for the directional inputs. Like most of the problems I solved in this project, I once again turned to China. Enter Easy EDA. Using their web-based tool, I designed my first ever PCB. It took single-digit dollars for them to print it, plus they provided the components I needed for connectors. I designed it to stack on top of the controller card, with separate breakouts to go to the auxiliary connectors and the directions mode cutover switch. At that point, my stick became fully functional. The project is ongoing though. My buddy with a 3D printer and an insatiable need to engineer things helped me design my hinging topper holder, the cord brackets, and even a battery module to power the LED light strips I'm installing to illuminate the interior whenever I open it. I gained a lot of skills and used a lot of tools in this project. Things that deserve mention include drilling, soldering, crimping, china, cable sleeving, shrink tubing, and electrical circuit testing. I'm happy to share any more details about the build to anyone who asks. It was a great project I'm very proud of, and I encourage anyone else to pick up this stuff as a hobby. It's probably one of the cheaper ones you could be getting into.